Yes, that card there. Well, you're the one who put it there. Which card? The one you wrote last week. Oh, wait a minute. We're on the air. Jim, just forget the card. I'll have to improvise. Well, hello there. I'm Joyce Simmons here at i-diom Language Institute, ready to tell you all about the weather forecast today. With a little rain in the morning, it looked as if the sun would never come out. But lo and behold, it did. That good old sun. One never knows which day the sun will shine here in Vienna. But today was one of those bright and happy days. That person who told you the sun doesn't shine here did not check their weather channel. It's not true. That sun outside is shining. Well, Jim, can you please bring me that cue card? Jim, who are you talking to? Jim, I need that card. Jim. Good afternoon, viewers. Unfortunately, due to a lost cue card, your favorite weather girl, Joyce Simmons, will be taking a short break. My name is Stephanie Smith. I'm an English teacher at Language Institute i-diom, and I will be filling in for Miss Simmons with a short lesson in English grammar. When and how to use the words who, that, and which. Who, that, and which are relative clauses. What is a relative clause? Well, with this lovely book I have here, English Grammar in Use, the definition of a relative clause is as follows. A clause is a part of a sentence. A relative clause tells us which person or thing, or what kind of person or thing the speaker means. For example, the woman who lives next door is very nice. People who live in the country are laid back. Who can also be used in describing a person. An actress is a woman who acts, for example. What was the name of that person who phoned you? Anyone who wants to apply for the job should do so as soon as possible. Great! So who is used for people? This is clear. But when do we use that and which? That is used when we are talking about things. Where is the milk that was in the fridge? That refers to milk. I prefer stories that have happy endings. That refers to stories. Joy works for a weather channel that airs every day. That refers to the weather channel. Remember when Joy was talking about the lost cue card? She said, that card, there. She was referring to the card that was lost. Then Joy said something like, you're the one who put it there, right? So who put the card where? I guess it would have been Jim. Jim put the card somewhere, so he would be the who. After this, Jim asked Joy, which card? Well, he must have been referring to the card she was talking about, which brings me back to the final part of my lesson. Which can be used like that. For example, the car which was built in 1965 looks cooler than the one built in 1984. This sentence could also be written with that instead of which. The car that was built in 1965 looks cooler than the one built in 1984. Which can also be used in making comparisons. Which house do you prefer? The white one or the yellow one? Okay, great. So now I have a little quiz for you. Which words belong in which sentences? Remember, you have three words to choose from. Which, that, and who. The man bought the mall was very clever. The people planned the courses were all professors. The house I wanted to buy was also sold last week to another buyer. The dress Lucy tried on didn't fit. The machine broke down is now working again. Wine do you prefer, red or white? The shop stood next to the school was torn down. The judge covered the case was from Alabama. The jury voted were not from Kentucky. The president's wife lived in another state, came to visit him at the weekend. Are you ready for the answers? Here they are. The man who bought the mall was very clever. The people who planned the courses were all professors. The house that I wanted to buy was also sold last week to another buyer. The dress that or which Lucy tried on didn't fit. The machine that or which broke down is now working again. Which wine do you prefer, red or white? The shop that or which stood next to the school was torn down. The judge who covered the case was from Alabama. The jury who voted were not from Kentucky. And the last one is the president's wife who lived in another state came to visit him at the weekend. If you got every one of these sentences right, then you're doing well. Oh, it looks like Miss Simmons has found her cue card. I guess I better go. Anyway, thank you for staying tuned and watching the Weather Channel. I will be surprising audiences all over the world with my English lessons. Have a bright and sunny rest of your day. Ciao.